Hello, my name is Ken Summers. I'm an author, paranormal researcher, writer, history buff, jack of all trades type, sometimes tour guide. I've done a little bit of everything when it comes to the paranormal. I'm not currently working with any paranormal groups since I forgot. I'm from Northfield, Ohio, which is a small town in between Cleveland and Akron. Over the past 20 years or so, I've worked with a bunch of different groups, including Majda, MAJDA, Spirit Seekers of Ohio, and I even had my own small paranormal group at one time called the Moonspenders. All based in the Cuyahoga Valley area for the most part. I started researching my first ghost story when I was about 13, 14. It's this interesting little story about a house down the street that was supposed to be haunted. Had my first investigation when I was about 18. I went out alone to a haunted place on Halloween night. I was so scared I didn't even get out of the car. But over the years my main focus has been historical research. I find history really fascinating, and I like documenting these stories down to basically get all the facts right. I'm a stickler for details. I like tangible things, and it's really hard in a field like this to have anything tangible. So I like to try and find some kind of evidence that's more than just, well, this could be a voice, but I don't know for sure. So yeah, I tend to consider myself a fence sitter. I try to be neutral about my approach with the paranormal and all of that. I try not to make any judgments, and I try to be somewhat skeptical and logical, but at the same time, I'm not a disbeliever. So I've had things happen to me that I honestly cannot explain for the life of me. So there's too much out there that I don't really understand. But I've learned over the past few decades now doing this that instead of having fewer questions and more answers, I actually have more questions than I did when I started out. So it's my beliefs in the paranormal are hard to explain. It's probably like a 4-hour explanation on what constitutes as ghostly phenomena and all of this. So I can be a very complicated person sometimes. As far as how many investigations I've done, hundreds, thousands, somewhere in between there. I really haven't been keeping track. There's a lot of places, especially locally, that I've gone to at least a dozen or 2 dozen times with friends, just whether it was scheduled ahead of time or just a random, oh, let's go to Lonesome Lock tonight. So I never really kept track of all of them. I know I've been on a lot of investigations, mostly in Ohio. I have visited some haunted places, even though I haven't done investigations. And those places include Villa Montezuma in San Diego when I lived out there for a short time. And even the quarantine station in Sydney, Australia. I did visit that when I was out there about 9 years ago, I think. So yeah, I like to travel. That's another thing about me. Let's see. My main focus has been, I've done some private investigations in the past, but I haven't done those in a long time. I'm not a big fan of going into people's houses and intruding in their lives and all that. Done some businesses too as well. I've always preferred public places because I like to find places that people can go to and visit and see for themselves whether or not it's haunted or whether they believe that it's haunted or not. A lot of them are outdoors because I do a lot of it in national parks, and you'll be miles out in the middle of nowhere, and basic equipment. So one other focus I've had in recent years, over the past 10 years especially, has been a little bit different. It's been LGBTQ ghosts, gay and lesbian ghosts for the most part. I did write a book in 2009 called Queer Hauntings. It was about gay and lesbian ghosts across the United States and over in Europe as well. But yeah, I am gay, and I think that gives me a bit of a different perspective on a lot of things. And yeah, so it's always been one of my little side interests with the paranormal. As far as why I'm trying out for this, that's a really good question. As you could probably tell, I'm a little bit nervous because I'm not very good at talking to myself because there's nobody else here, and I feel really stupid doing that. I've always felt more comfortable behind a camera than in front of one, but I don't mind. I've done some TV spots on local media and things like that, done radio interviews and all of that. It's just, I've always liked to focus on the ghosts and not myself. Part of that comes from being underconfident, and actually my underconfidence and not believing too much in myself all the time is why I almost didn't go through with this. I was telling myself, on one hand, what have you got to lose? The other hand, God, what's the point? I'm gonna fail anyway. I think everyone has that, that they go through a lot of the times. But to try and be more positive about things, over the years I've developed a lot of theories, done a lot of research, come up with a lot of different stories, and I have a lot of experiences and ideas and thoughts milling around in my head that would be suited for anything from past cases that could be similar to different things, to random little ideas of like time and ghosts and weird stuff like that. So I've got a lot of different thoughts in my head. I've spent past several years mostly just researching, so I haven't really gotten out there, and I miss going out there and just sitting behind reading books, and I have quite a bit of a library. But just reading books and writing about things that you've read in books and found in historical documents and all that is fun, but it's not the same as being out there and doing it. As far as anything else goes, I think I could bring a logical, somewhat skeptical viewpoint. You could call me an atheist, but I don't like using that word because it makes me sound like some pretentious person who just tells everybody that they're wrong if they believe in anything. And that's not who I am. I believe anyone should have the right to believe whatever they want. I just like to separate religious belief from paranormal research, because I think they often get too mixed in together, and that's when you're dealing with people saying that things are demons and angels and all of this, and it's just giving a name to something that's just equated to bad and good. But otherwise, yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. It's one of the most awkward endings I could imagine. But I do want to thank you for your consideration, and I do hope to hear from you sometime in the future.